Dan Power from Koonenberry Gold, thank you very much for coming down to Melbourne. You've come over for the Lion AGM, which is this afternoon. And I'm really looking forward to introducing you to our shareholders and hearing you tell a bit of the story to them. What I wanted to ask you about today, though, is a couple of the focus points so that we can tell the world about Koonenberry. We, Lion, invested in Koonenberry. We do early stage exploration reasonably sparingly because it's a risk. You might not find something, and the fact that it hasn't been found before just shows that there's a risk there. But in the case of Koonenberry, what we were really attracted to was lots and lots of targets, which gives you lots and lots of shots at finding something. That was originally in northern New South Wales with your foundation project, and you've gone on to add a suite of things. And as an explorer, what you hope for is to be able to find something. Dan, I think you have, and you're exploring at Enmore in northern New South Wales near Armidale. Can you tell me about that? What's special about it? Why do you like it?
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to pick up the Enmore project around about this time, actually to the day last year, when we had our AGM and our shareholders voted in favour of that acquisition. And what I liked about the project at the time was there was clear unfinished business, and what I think had already been drilled was the discovery hole by the previous explorers. And we were lucky enough to pick that up for $300,000 in scrip with the vendor. Some people would say that we didn't purchase it. Some people think we stole it.
Well, it's added about, I don't know, $35 million worth of market cap.
Correct. So we were tracking along at sub 5 and we've been up to 95 million market cap this year. And we're now back at 40. But I think that project has true potential, not just at Sunnyside where we've been exploring, but within the district. And so I look at projects, my background is obviously in geology, but I spent a long time working for Newmont in project generation. So I look for projects that have big scale potential, and I think even juniors need to be doing that. We can't be exploring for the small things, particularly if it needs to be a standalone type of situation. So I think we've got that at Enmore, and I think we're showing that with the drill bit earlier this year with some incredible intercepts.
And what were they? Give me a snapshot of what you've hit.
So essentially, we were hitting what we call the shear zone from multiple directions to try to figure out exactly what was going on, and there's multiple orientations of veining there, so that's why we've drilled it in multiple directions. But what we've come up with is a model that is controlled by the shear zone and is about 75 metres wide, a couple of hundred metres long, and at least 300 metres deep. So we're talking about intercepts that are downhole intercepts of plus 100 metres at 1 to 2 grams. And a true thickness of about 75 metres. So
you don't normally hear about people talking about 100 or more metre intercepts in gold deposits. Often what you hear about is 5 metres at 20 grams, and that's an outstanding intercept. Yeah. But to put something over 100 metres or so, even if it's 75 metres of true thickness, is outstanding. So, I mean, is that repeatable? What you've got at Sunnyside looks really interesting, but you've only drilled a small patch. Where's the upside from there?
Yeah, so the upside, we currently have a rig, we have 2 rigs on the project. One is at Sunnyside, testing extensions to that mineralisation, and we put out an announcement last week that looks like we're finding extensions to the mineralisation at depth. We drilled underneath our hole 3, which had 107 metres or thereabouts at 1.1 grams, and 100 metres downstairs from that, we've hit the same types of rocks, same types of alteration, and visible gold, which is, when you're exploring for gold, that's always the best thing you can hope to see. And 100 metres underneath that, we've hit the same. So we think we've extended that section another 200 metres depth to around about 400 metres depth. So there's clear upside there. We're currently drilling the next section to the west, which is underneath hole 6. And I'm confident that we can see extensions at depth there. And then we're going to step out to the east where the mineralisation is open along the shear zone and hopefully extend the strike length as well as the depth. So then investors can start to get a feel for what's the size and shape of Sunnyside itself. Then I've got another rig spinning out to the east on what we call the hand-in-hand prospect.
So this is a different prospect to where you've drilled already.
Yeah,
There's
right.
a dot on a map at Sunnyside, and this is a different dot on a map.
Yeah, so you head out 2 kilometres along the shear zone where we've got indications of gold mineralisation all along that 2 kilometres. And by indications, I mean it's soil and rock chip anomalies with gold and arsenic, the same sorts of magnitudes that were the precursors to the discovery at Sunnyside. So that's a good sign. And as I said, I've got an RC rig out there now testing those targets, and we'll be waiting probably into the new year for assays from that program. And then further afield from that, we've been talking about the Sunnyside prospect and the hand-in-hand prospect, which both lie on the Sunnyside shear zone. But there are multiple shear zones that we've now identified that have targets on each of those shear zones. And some of those targets have already seen some drilling and have already hit gold. So, 40 metres at 1.1 grams at the Bora prospect. I think it's 30 centimetres at 60 grams at the Sherwood prospect, that type of thing. So we know that it's very real. And actually on the Bora fault, which is only a kilometre or so to the north of the Sunnyside fault, there's about 6 kilometres of gold in soil anomalies, and not the 2 kilometres that we have at Sunnyside. So we don't know that Sunnyside's the biggest and best. It's going to come down to testing these things, ranking and rating the targets based on multiple geological factors, and then sticking the drill rig on them and seeing what's down there. But I see this as a district play now. Hedley, so it's not just Sunnyside. This is a true district play where down the track, depending on how many metres we can stick into this thing and what we find, I can see a central processing hub with multiple mining sources coming into that central processing hub. So
this is quite, when you look at a lot of companies that are drilling something, typically what they're drilling is one prospect, they've got something and they're extending it a piece at a time. Yeah. What you're describing here is extending that one thing, but you've also got the multiplier potential of other prospects, which is just amazing. So
and we know we've got the bulk tonnage potential like we do at Sunnyside, those 100 metres at a gram, but we also know we've got the high grade potential. So they don't all have to be bulk tonnage things. We can explore for, they're easy to explore, well, not easy, but we're hitting it consistently at Sunnyside, those 100 metres at 1 to 2 grams. But we're also seeing things like 20 metres at 10 grams at Sunnyside. So that's quite enticing as well. If that's all I had, if I only had 20 metres at 10 grams, I'd be over the moon. But I don't only have that. I have the 100 metres at plus a gram and these higher grade pods within it.
It's far too early to be talking about how you might pull it out of the ground. But I guess when you hit such wide intervals and with high grades within it, it starts to make you think that there could be a number of different ways to look at that when you come to a mining proposition. And that might even mean that there's one way to start it and there's another way to grow it to something far, far bigger. So
yeah, absolutely. The beauty of what we're seeing, I go back to Sunnyside. So 75 metres wide, a couple of 100 metres long, it's 300 metres deep at least, and that's from surface. So we've got mineralisation from surface. So the immediate mining scenario would be for an open cut, which is, they're becoming rarer and rarer, I think, these days in Australia. And our search space is from surface to at least, we think, 300-400 metres. But up the road at Lavoto Resources Hillgrove mine, they have mineralisation down to 900 metres. So there is no reason why our mineralisation should stop. We think it's open at depth.
That's an amazing search space to be thinking about.
Yeah.
You could fit a lot of ounces into that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Dan, so that's fantastic. That's really interesting. What I sort of started with, though, is you're an explorer with a portfolio of projects. And when I look at Koonenberry and look at all the different dots on the map that you've got across New South Wales, and think about what they could become, because as an explorer, you've got loads and loads of shots. It's like you're 3 or 4 awesome explorers, all for the price of one, which still arguably hasn't been rewarded for the one find which it is making. So what's the plan for all those other shots, mate? Where do you go with that?
Yeah, so we think most of the value at the moment is coming from our drilling at Enmore and Sunnyside in particular, and that a lot of the other projects that we have in the portfolio aren't really attracting the value that we think that the residual value that they might have. So we've got to figure out how we can add value for shareholders from those prospects and projects. In the Lachlan Fold Belt, we have 10 projects. 2 of those are in joint venture with Newmont, and they're exploring for the big stuff. You know, they don't want to find 1 million ounces. Their minimum target is 5 million ounces. It's 500,000 ounces a year for 10 years. That's their minimum target, and that's a reserve. That's not a resource.
Suck to be them if they find something smaller than that.
Exactly. Or if they do, we've got a 20% free carry on their main project. So that's a great one. That leaves us with 8 other projects in the Lachlan Fold Belt, and we've picked about three that we like that we're bringing up to drill ready, and have been talking about those in the market. So one of those is our Wilga project, which is only 20 kilometres north of Lake Cow. Lake Cow is a 13 million ounce deposit, owned and operated and run extremely profitably by Evolution. We think we've got similar rocks. We have a gold and base metal pathfinder element anomaly stretches over 4 kilometres that's hardly seen a drill hole. So that's exciting. If we find something there, I think there's an obvious tie up with Evolution on the Wilga project.
Logical who might be interested in the district.
Exactly, I think they'll be come knocking on our door. So that's a big hungry mill. We also have our Breakfast Creek project where we have basically gossans on surface. So we think it's a prospective for skarn type mineralisation. We've got gold in gossans up to 7 grams, copper in gossans up to 18%. And that one's, we're just working through that methodically, doing some more soil sampling. We need to do some IP on that before we can drill it. We've got other projects in the Lachlan Fold Belt portfolio as well, such as our Prince of Wales project, which was mined over 100 years ago down to about 170 metres of depth, and has never been explored since. So that's a very interesting one. And so basically what we're doing within the portfolio is picking the ones that they're a little bit more advanced. And these projects came into the portfolio through the acquisition that we did last year. And they come data rich. A lot of them were actually, the data was acquired over a 7-year period in combination with a group called Gilmore Metals. Which was run by a bloke called Darren Glover. He sits on the Koonenberry board now, came in with that vent. And him and his partners project generated these projects over a 7 to 10 year period. So they're very data rich. It's not like it's moose pasture. They're not targets that are under 300 or 500 metres of cover. In many cases, they're outcropping. So soil geochemistry is working. So there's an obvious pathway to take those through to drill ready status, and that's what our strategy is at the moment.
It didn't just flog you the projects, you've got the horsepower which pulled them together and the belief which now sits with you as part of the company as well. So hearing all of that, I'd love to say that 2026 sounds tremendously exciting, and that's headlined by a couple of visible gold intercepts that have assays coming. But it sounds like 2026, 2027, 2028 and beyond will be quite exciting. We're only just finding out about Enmore, and that's to deliver and all the rest.
Right. So it's a big challenge.
Yeah.
We'll have the rig at Enmore. We'll be spinning until probably April at least, I'd say. And so we'll be seeing results right through from hopefully mid-December. We expect our first results. All the way through. There'll be a tail effect. Through to June or something at least next year.
Very exciting, Dan. We are such happy shareholders of Koonenberry, and we're really looking forward to what next year's got to offer and beyond. There's nothing in our portfolio we want to get rid of, but I tell you what, there's some we're very happy to be putting more money into at the moment as well, and I think there's some tremendous growth to come from this.
Yeah, good stuff, Hedley, and great to have you as a supporter.
Pleasure to be working together. So thank you so much for coming in for a chat, and look forward to hearing from you this afternoon when you speak to our shareholders as well.
Perfect. Look forward to it.
Good on you, mate.